You guys must be really confused because this is the second time in this week that I have made a positive video about casual Yu-Gi-Oh! A couple days ago we did that video talking about my 5 favorite casual cards, and that video was a lot of fun to make. I got a lot of awesome feedback, and in today's video I want to talk about another thing that gets brought up in my comment section a lot, and this sometimes gets brought up in a positive way when someone innocently asks, hey Dzeeff, I don't play this game competitively anymore, is X deck good in casual play, or is this card good in casual play? And then sometimes it gets brought up as sort of like a negative argument to one of my videos where I talk about, like, let's say I say fur hires are bad. Someone will comment, well, they're not bad, they're just not good in meta play, they're perfectly fine in casual play. But basically, even though those things are different, they're pretty much both saying the exact same thing. They're just saying that, or they're wondering about if certain cards and certain strategies are good in casual play or much better in casual play than they are in competitive play. And I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is every single card, every single deck is good in casual play. The bad news is every single card and every single deck is good in casual play. Now, I know that it might have sounded contradictory to actually say that, but let me sort of describe what I'm talking about here. So the good news is that yes, every single card is good in casual play. If you're playing with your friends in college who haven't played in a while and you're going to ask me, is this deck good? Well, the fact of the matter is pretty much any deck you ask me about is going to be good, because what I've noticed, at least when I played on campus back when I was in college freshman year, and I saw people that were mostly Magic players trying to play Yu-Gi-Oh for the first time, what I noticed is not only is obviously the metagame different for a college campus Yu-Gi-Oh tournament of people that don't really play the game competitively, not only is the meta different, but also a lot of rulings are different. They don't really know a lot of in-depth rulings, which makes some decks better. And some of you in the comment section, and maybe you might think I'm on this side, but I'm actually not. Some of you might be saying, well, that's not fair. You should just teach them how to play the right way every single time and try to help out with rulings. And one of the things that I quickly found out when I watched those people play, they did like those battle royale matches where there's like 5 people playing, which personally I'm not a fan of at all. I think it's a mess, but they had fun doing that. And when they figured out that I played Yu-Gi-Oh competitively, they'd always ask me rulings. And what I figured out after like having to answer 5 rulings in one turn, and a lot of times them not believing me, is that it doesn't really matter if they're playing correctly. And I think that's one thing to sort of keep in mind when we're talking about casual play. And that might sound weird and some people might disagree with me, but if someone only plans on always playing casually, you don't really have to correct them on rulings or on deck building and stuff like that. And I think that's really important. And I think people might hear me say that and say, but Doug, you're always calling out casual cards and casual decks and calling them bad. One of the things that I try to do on my channel is make videos for players that are casual and trying to become competitive, which is very different from people that are only going to stay casual. Because if you're a casual player and you play Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon, it's probably helpful. Actually, I know it's helpful from the comment section. It's helpful to learn about why that deck isn't good, why that card isn't very good. However, if you don't care about becoming competitive, yeah, go ahead, play Chaos Max Dragon. I don't care. Search it with pre-prep. I don't care. Like, as long as you're playing casually against other people that are playing casually, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be competitively mindseted. You don't have to have this mindset where everything has to be perfect and you have to optimize your deck list. And this also comes up when people post, I feel so bad for them because it's probably just a huge waste of time, but they'll post like full deck lists in my comment section, and they're just like super casual lists, which is perfectly fine. I don't know what they're expecting. A lot of them have the caveat that, like, don't ask me to change my deck, and it's like, what do you really want to hear from not only me but just from any commenter? I think that they want to hear this deck is great. They want to be surprised and have someone that plays the game competitively say, you know what, this deck's really good. The fact of the matter is, 99% of the time that someone writes their full deck list in the description, it's really, really bad. And that's perfectly fine, because if they're doing that, they're just playing casually. But I think just knowing your place in whatever game you're playing, there are plenty of games that I play casually. I played Hearthstone casually for a really long time. Maybe now I'm a little more competitive, but there was about a year where I just played Hearthstone casually, and I knew that I was a casual player, so I didn't take it too seriously. And yes, I wanted to become as good as I could with the limited time frame that I spent playing playing Hearthstone, but I didn't really care. I wasn't trying to get to legend ranked. I wasn't trying to go to tournaments. I was just playing for fun. And I think sometimes we have to remember that other people are playing Yu-Gi-Oh! For different reasons than we're playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Maybe I'm playing Yu-Gi-Oh! To win, maybe I'm playing Yu-Gi-Oh! To be competitive, but a lot of people just play it to have fun and just play it to do their crazy combos, and that's perfectly fine. Now that I've kind of covered the good half of saying that all decks and all cards are good casually, I do want to mention that this does have the potential to really mess someone up, and this is another thing that I see in my comment section a lot. This isn't really a replying to comments in a video type of video analysis, but I do want to mention that there are bad parts of saying that for everything, and I think the worst part is that you use it as a scapegoat. No, not the card scapegoat, but an actual scapegoat for every single argument. Anytime someone brings any analysis to the table, I see people saying, but it's good casually, so you can't talk about it. And if we talk about that sort of argument in comparison to what the first half of this video talks about, you can see why that doesn't really work. Because if you say that a card is good casually, I mean, I've seen all sorts of, I pretty much have seen every single card I've ever called bad. I've seen a comment saying it's good casually. And that's sort of the issue. If you suddenly say, anytime someone talks about a card critically, anytime someone brings up a new deck idea, if you say that it's good casually, therefore we can't critique it, well, now you've just prevented anyone from ever critiquing any cards in the game. And that's not good. If you want to grow as a player, you have to critique things. You can't just say it's good casually, I don't want to talk about it. And that's kind of where I see the most disagreements in the comment section. Now, I understand the people that are saying that's good, it's really good casually, probably aren't trying to play competitively, but I see people that are trying to play competitively sometimes using that argument, saying that this card is good casually, maybe it has potential to be metagame defining later on if it gets the right support. That's like one of my favorite lines, is if it gets the right support. And while it is true that technically speaking, any deck could randomly get a Spellbook of Judgment type card that would make it ridiculous, the likelihood of that happening is extremely low. No, I do not think there'll be a Spellbook of Judgment for Appropriate. Appropriate is like one of the worst casual card comboers that I've ever seen. So many comments about that card in my videos, talking about like Cup of Ace being good because of that card, talking about cards like Dark Bribe being good because of that card. I don't know what it is with Appropriate, but a lot of people really think that card's really good, sort of ignoring that it's an unsearchable trap card that is extremely slow. But really just realizing that if you are a casual player that only wants to play casually, that's perfectly fine. Don't try to use your casual strategies and apply them to competitive metagames. So I think that's something that I've talked about in the past, is that you can apply competitive mindsets to casual games to win more, but in almost every single scenario, at least all of them that I've seen, you can never apply casual strategies to competitive metagames. It never transfers that way. You can go from a heightened sense of thinking critically to a lower sense of thinking critically, but you can't go the other way, which is really important to think about. And it's not that casual players, strictly casual players, don't have good ideas. It's just that when your argument is based on a couple games you've played on your kitchen table after your high school got out, if that's your center point for how good a deck is, well then obviously people are going to laugh at you in the comment section, and it sucks to see, but that's really just what it comes down to. You have to really put things in the context of how they're going to be taken in the metagame. If you put things, I mean, YCSs aren't ran at kitchen tables. They're not ran at recess. They're not ran in a library with your friends after school. They're their own tournaments with people putting in hundreds of hours of testing to find the best deck. And sorry to say, they found out for hires aren't very good at the YCS, so they're not going to play them, even though they understand they're probably really good in your casual play testing group. Anyway, though, that is going to about wrap this video up. This is something that I wanted to talk about for a very, very long time, because like I said, I only posted a couple comments at the beginning, but I get comments like this all the time. Every single day I get at least one comment from someone saying that something that I said was bad is good in a casual setting or is good against lower tier decks, and I think it is important to make this video. I'll put it out in that category of like Yu-Gi-Oh analysis for beginners, because I feel it's really important for someone just starting out in Yu-Gi-Oh or someone that wants to become competitive to realize that many of their casual strategies just aren't gonna work in a competitive environment, and you have to pretty much completely change your mindset once you start being serious about Yu-Gi-Oh if you really want to improve. And I think that this is a crutch that many people use. I think it's very similar to the thing that I mentioned a little bit ago, where I mentioned that a lot of people say if this card gets support it'll be really good. Well, obviously, like water is wet. If a card gets more support, that's better, the card becomes better. That's not really that important to talk about, but I think that really just trying to not use these crutches when talking about cards critically is a great way to actually improve at Yu-Gi-Oh in the long term. Anyway though, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you later. Bye.